Oh hi, it's your old buddy Zoo, and the embargo is just lifted on the Mangmi Air Y and the Mangmi Air Y Pro. I obviously have both of them in my hands right now, and I'm going to try to go over the specs, the prices, all that jazz in about 5 minutes, real quick, because I got something planned for the Pro here that's going to take a lot longer than 5 minutes. It's going to take the better part of a week. We're going to talk about that later in the video. But for now, let's hop into it and review the Mangmi Air Y and the Mangmi Air Y Pro. So we got the Mangmi Air Y and the Mangmi Air Y Pro, Mangmi's first vertical handhelds. Their other two, the Air X and the Pocket Max, were both horizontal. So this is the company doing the Game Boy shape for the first time. And by the way, I still think it's pretty cool. X is this way, Y is that way. Someone is very familiar with their Cartesian coordinate system. In the hand, the Pro weighs about as much as a paperback, except all of it is really in your fingertips instead of spread across your palms. It is 286 grams. The base Air Y is 279. The difference is negligible. And both of these are around 23 millimeters thick, which means it goes in your jacket pocket, but since it's a little heavy, you know it's in your jacket pocket. It's kind of like a Goldilocks situation in between the 406V here and the 477V, where these ones are in the middle. And dare I say it, compared to these other Amberneck ones, these might be just right. Now, both of these devices have the same exact panel. It is 4.2 inches. It's 1280 by 960. It's IPS. It's not OLED. 500 nits, 110% sRGB. By the way, it's 4:3 aspect ratio, and it is a very solid 4:3 screen in a Game Boy form factor. And I've repeated this lately ad nauseum, but everything from the Super Nintendo through the GameCube was made in 4:3. And a cool thing about having that big 4:3 screen in a Game Boy form factor is that it just kind of feels bigger. I think when it's in between your hands, it looks different than when it's popped up on top. Boy, I really hope someone didn't just walk in on this part divorced of any context. And that 4:3 aspect ratio is important. I've repeated it ad nauseum over the last couple months, but everything from Super Nintendo through GameCube was made in 4:3. And if you're going to play retro games, it's kind of the best aspect ratio to use. Fight me in the comments, I know you will. Now, the base model Air Y runs a Snapdragon 662. It has 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, and Android 14. It has 1 analog stick, 1 speaker, Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5, 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and 15 watt charging. You can reliably play the PSP library, the Dreamcast library, Nintendo 64, and everything under that. And this would be the one to buy if what you do want is N64, Dreamcast, and anything below, because you have a very, very nice 4:3 screen, and if you don't care about anything past that, why spend the extra money for the extra oomph you're not going to use? The Pro is a different animal. It's got a Snapdragon 865 and has an Adreno 650. It comes in 2 configurations. There's a model with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage, or one with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. I have the 8 gigabyte Game Boy DMG model here. The Pro has dual analog sticks, dual speakers on the bottom, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.1, 18 watt charging, but the same battery, the same screen, and the same fan. And the 865 is a known quantity at this point. It's the chip that's in the Retroid Pocket 5. It's in the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. It runs everything the previous one could run, but also GameCube and PlayStation 2 work really well on here. Now, it's not as effortless as the 8 Gen 2 we've seen so often lately, but I'm playing Simpsons Hit and Run on PlayStation 2 at 2.5x resolution, and outside of the fan turning off and on every once in a while, it is running butter smooth. Outside of Amberneck's annual contribution to this form factor, 4:3 and 2 analog sticks together is not really a common combination in this size, and it points straight at one specific generation, GameCube and PlayStation 2, games from before widescreen took over, games which were built 4:3 and yet still needed a second stick for the camera. That is a very particular itch and this device scratches it. Let's talk about prices because the prices on these two units really drives the conversation. The regular Air Y is $90 early bird, $95 retail. The Air Pro 4GB version is $146 early bird, $160 retail, and the 8GB version is $176 early bird, $190 retail. If you're going to get an Air Pro, I would err on the side of the 8GB version. $30 extra gives you double the memory and faster storage. And if you're doing PlayStation 2 emulation, 8 gigs of RAM versus 4 gigs is something you're going to regret as you start to creep up into the more demanding titles. If $30 is a big deal for you, and I know sometimes it is, then that 4GB version could be a cheaper way into GameCube and PlayStation 2 on a 4x3 screen. Just temper your expectations. It's not going to have as much wiggle room as the 8GB version. And if you're in the market for a less powerful vertical device, you could honestly do a lot worse than the base Air Y model as well. It's got a great screen, it's got sufficient power for N64, PSP, and Dreamcast, and weirdly enough, the one-stick design isn't a limitation for those systems. Now let's be clear, a Retroid Pocket 5 has that same Snapdragon 865, it's got a bigger screen, a better screen, and it only costs a hair more than the top-end model here. And if I didn't mention it, I would get blown up in the comments, although nothing can really stop that now. When I say the RGSP is a great Game Boy Advance machine, people comment and they say, well, it can't actually play Game Boy Advance carts. Anyway, the Retroid Pocket 5 is a widescreen device, and that's the entire argument here. You're not buying performance with the Air Y Pro, you're buying shape. If a 4x3 screen is what you want, or a Game Boy vertical form factor is what you want, then a nicer widescreen panel isn't a substitute. And speaking of this beautiful 4x3 screen, I just did a whole video on 4x3 handhelds. Retroid Pocket Nova, the Anbernic RG477M, the RG476H, and the Air Y Pro undercuts all three of them on price. So if you watch that one, I guess this is a new number in the conversation. And now it's time for, well, actually it's not, because I'm going to talk about the thing I mentioned at the top of the video. Normally at this point I would go run like 12 games for 2 or 3 minutes each and show you the frame counter in the corner. Somebody's already made that video. Probably 3 or 4 people have made that video now. Instead, I'm going to play one game on the Air Y Pro, all the way from the beginning to the credits. And the game is Simpsons Hit and Run, because it's one of our Game of the Month picks this month. I'm going to play all 7 levels, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you what I learned about the hardware from actually living with the software, which is a different thing than testing it. Now this video, if everything goes according to plan, will go up next week. That's right, I'm pretty fast at these games. If you want to play along, Game of the Month thread is in the Discord, and again, the link is in the description. Oh, and one more thing. These devices had some ghosting problems when they first arrived, and people pointed it out. Mangmi pushed a patch, and now the ghosting is really a thing of the past. I don't want to joke about ghosts too much because my editor Gary is really scared of ghosts. They keep him awake at night. Weirdo. If this video keeps you awake at night, or maybe you're intrigued about my follow-up video, remember to like and subscribe and hype and all that jazz. Seriously though, let me know what you think about the concept. The long play thing is new, and I don't know if it's a good idea yet. So tell me what device I should use in the future and what game I should point at it after this one. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.